Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. Today we'll continue our lab, the Red Alert lab. This is the video number 17. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working, or we will work from the previous video and the upcoming videos. We will work on hardening our network or our domain. So there is a lot of PDFs or a lot of documentation on the internet how you can secure your network. Your network security have a lot of things or a lot of parts to be secured. The first thing, for example, is to secure your Active Directory, and then to secure your workstations, and then to secure your servers, and then to secure your firewall, to secure your switches and routers. All of these you should have some standard or some security policy to secure them. I don't mean by security to secure the firmware of these devices. So we all know that to fix the security bugs or the security issues concerning any device or any operating system in your network, you need to update it. So there is Windows updates, there is updates for the firmwares for the Cisco switches, there is a firmware update for the firewalls. All of these are a very small part from securing your devices. You need to take additional steps to secure your devices and your network. These steps could be some best practices to make some procedures to secure your network. For example, if you want to secure your Active Directory, you need to separate your administrative accounts or Active Directory administrative accounts from your local administrator accounts. So if you need to access the Active Directory, you should use an account, and if you need to solve the problems on your workstations in your domain, you should use another account. So this is one of the things. This is a best practice. So there is a lot of companies, non-profitable companies on the internet that issue a lot of PDFs on how you can secure your network. Okay, one of these non-profitable organizations are the Department of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency of the United States. So there is a website that issues some PDFs. It's called DoD Cyber Exchange Public, or it's called STIG Security Template Implementation Guide. So this is issued or provisioned by the Department of Defense of the United States and the Defense Information Security Agency of the United States. These are all PDFs that is issued and maintained and updated by these two defenses or these two departments. Okay, so there is a lot of things here you can use to secure your environment. In the previous video we have discussed how we can secure our Active Directory using the PDF or the guide issued by the Department of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency. We talked about a lot of things to secure your Active Directory, and it was a very detailed video. I urge you all to check it. In this video we will discuss how we can secure our workstations that has Windows 10 installed on them. So actually if you are working with order, we should work first on securing our Windows Server or Windows Server Data Center core. So we secure our Active Directory, then we secure our servers, and then at the end we secure our workstations. But I will just work first with the workstations. We will secure it, and then we will hop back or return back to securing our Windows Server. Okay, so now we will talk in this video how we can secure our Windows 10 workstations. So there's a lot of steps we should use, or a lot of steps we will discuss how we can secure our Windows 10. So first of all, if you need to have a unified security standard to be implemented on your Windows 10 workstations, I urge you to get a workstation, install Windows 10 on it, and then work with this PDF to secure this workstation, and then take an image of this workstation and apply it to all of your domains. So this will be the steps to secure your Windows 10 environment. Let me show you all or begin the lab on how we can secure our Windows 10 environment. But it will be a long video, so I will divide it to two parts. This will be the first part. So let's see, or let's begin our video here. We will open the VM Workstation Pro. Just a moment, guys. So here we will open our VM Workstation Pro, and then we will open our primary domain controller, which is RACC01. I think we can pass it real quickly here. Now we will open our RACC01. This is our primary domain controller, and then we will open the POW. This is the workstation that we will use it to connect to the Active Directory remotely on our primary domain controller and begin working to apply the steps for the guide. By the way, the steps in this guide could be a group policy, or could be a change in the Active Directory, or could be a lot of things. So the recommendation could be a group policy, could be something you need to take care of it, or something like changing some groups or some security groups or some rights on your Active Directory. Here I will log in with my domain account or domain admin account, and then type the password. Okay, then okay, and then we will begin working with the PDF. So it will take a little bit of time. I can pass this real quickly actually. Okay, so now we have logged in. Then we will open our console or custom console that will contain all of the tools I need to manage my network or my domain. And then we will open the PDF and see what are the recommendations of the Ministry of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency of the United States on how to secure your Windows 10 environment. By the way, I need to show you all something. When I recorded this video, this PDF was the issue number version 2, release 2, May 2021. There is a release or a new release which is Windows 10 version 2 release 2 released on April 2021. So you need to check regularly this website to get the most updated security templates or security standards. So actually it's only 1 month, so I don't think there is a lot of things to be added, but anyway, you just need to check the date. Anyway, so now we will continue working with our PDF. So now we will open the console. I think it will take a little bit of time. Okay, we'll open the console, and then we will work on something called Windows 10 hardening. So this is the group policy that we will use if the PDF tells us that we need to apply certain group policy to harden our Windows 10. This is the group policy that we will apply to our workstations. By the way, hardening, it means securing or tightening up your Windows 10. So if you want to harden anything, I mean to secure it more. So we call this templates or these guides as hardening templates. Okay, so let's see. Here I will open this PDF and then begin working with it. Let's see what is the first recommendation from Microsoft. First of all, the first thing is to have your Windows 10 Enterprise. So it is recommended to install Windows 10 Enterprise Edition 64-bit version on your workstations in your domain. Why is this? Because it contains a lot of features. One of them is the Credential Guard. This is one of the components of Windows 10 Enterprise. It secure your usernames and password or your machine and encrypt them. So this is the Credential Guard. Main function is to secure your usernames and passwords on your machine. So this is only available in the Windows 10 Enterprise. Okay, so you need to install Windows 10 Enterprise on your workstations. Okay, And actually not only this, also it supports some virtualization mechanism that also it is related to securing your credential or secure your usernames and password. Anyway, so it is the first recommendation that domain join system must use Windows 10 Enterprise Edition 64-bit. How we can check this? We need to run a certain command or your Windows 10 to know if this is a Windows 10 Enterprise Edition or not. By the way, I have installed on my POW Windows 10 Enterprise, but a special edition called LTSC. Okay, this is a special edition of Windows 10 Enterprise. It is 64-bit also, but there is some features removed from it, something like the Cortana and the Microsoft Edge, but it contains all of the features that the PDF recommend us to have. The credential guard is there. There is a lot of features. It's already there. So let's first see how we can check and see if our system is Windows 10 Enterprise 64-bit. We will run a certain command. This PDF will give us the command, so we need to go to setting and open system and then about to see if our system is 64-bit or not. So we will go to our PAL. So this is one of the workstations that is joined the domain, but it is used only to configure the Active Directory. So we will open the PC setting, okay, or setting, and then we will go to system. We'll go to the system, okay, and then we will check if we have this 64-bit system installed or not, or it is a Windows 10 Enterprise or not. So let's have a look. So one of the first recommendations is to install Windows 10 Enterprise, the 64-bit edition or version. So now we will go and check the about section. Okay, here we will see that if you go further down, we will see that this is the 64-bit system and it is Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC. Okay, so this is the operating system. It's 64-bit and it is Windows 10 Enterprise Special Edition LTSC. Okay, so this is the first thing. Then the second thing is to make sure that your workstations have something called Trusted Platform Module. So this is a chip that is on the motherboard of the machine. The main function of this chip is to store your BitLocker, okay, BitLocker encryption key and all of your important encryption keys. Okay, so this is the main function of the Trusted Platform. So we all know that there is a way that you can encrypt your data on your machine. So for example, if you have a hard disk on your Windows 10 machine and you need to encrypt the data on this hard disk, we will use something called BitLocker. BitLocker, it is a way to encrypt your data by an encryption key. Okay, this key is stored on this chip on the motherboard on the machine that you are using BitLocker on it. So this is the main function of the Trusted Platform, and it's also used to store other data. So for example, the credential guard that is responsible for securing your usernames and passwords, also it will encrypt your passwords and usernames using an encryption key, and it will save it to the TPM module. So when you are purchasing PCs to install Windows 10 on it for your domain or your network, you need to make sure that these workstations or these PCs have a Trusted Platform module on its motherboard. Let's see what is the TPM. We can type it here or we can have a look. It's TPM and then we can type here. So it is Trusted Platform. What is, okay, let me show you here. What is TPM chip? What is TPM and why do we need it? Okay, so here we can see that there is something called TPM. Let's see, what is a TPM? Here it's a tiny chip on your computer motherboard, sometimes separate from the main CPU and memory. So it's completely separated from the CPU and memory. It's a separate chip. the chip is akin to the keyboard you use to disable your home security alarm every time, is a kind of a keypad you use to disable your security alarm every time you walk into the door, or the authenticator app used on your phone. In this scenario, turning on your computer is... no, this is not what I'm thinking here. Likewise, after you power on the machine, okay, here is after you press on the power on your PC, you will use full disk encryption. So if you need to secure your hard disk on your PC, you will encrypt it, okay, and the TPM will save this encryption key on it. So its main function is to save your encryption key, or all of the keys used for encryption on it. So we can encrypt username and passwords, it will be saved to the TPM, and we will use encryption keys to encrypt your hard disk, this also will be saved to the TPM. So this is the main function of the TPM, but actually this is not I need more detailed explanation. So this is the shape of the TPM key, or TPM module. Just a moment. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here I need to get a more understandable explanation of TPM. So here let's go to Microsoft Documents. So TPM, technology designed to provide hardware-based security-related functions. So it saves encryption keys. A TPM is a secure crypto processor. It is designed to carry out cryptic operations. So this chip saves encryption keys, and it does all functions related to encryption. So chip include multiple physical security mechanisms to make it tamper resistant. So also it saves encryption keys, and it's very hard to be hacked. Okay, so one of the things that this can do, or this TPM can do, is to generate, store, and limit use of cryptic keys or encryption keys to authenticate using unique RSA key which is burned into it. So this is also, it's not only to save encryption keys for encrypting hard disks, but also to encrypt usernames and passwords used for authentication. So if you need to authenticate yourself to the machine, so for example, if you need to log into your machine with a username and the password, the TPM will help you on this process, okay, by saving your username and password and encrypt them, and then when you type them it will verify or authenticate you. Okay, so this is one of the things, and then it helps to ensure integrity by taking and storing security measures. Okay, so one of the most common functions is for system integrity measurements. Okay, anyway, so a very brief or a very short explanation that it is designed for security related functions, and it carry out cryptographic operations. I think we can also get a more detailed encryption. Let's go to Wikipedia. So Wikipedia, it is an international standard for secure crypto processor, a dedicated microcontroller designed to secure hardware through integrated crypto keys. Okay, so the same, it is using encryption. It is used for digital right management, Windows Defender, Windows domain login, protection and enforcement of software license, and prevention of cheating online games. So this is, I think, more detailed encryption or more detailed explanation about the TPM. So it's a very, very important piece of equipment or piece of hardware that you should have on your workstation. So we need to know if the trusted platform module is on my virtual machine. So how we can do this? We will issue a command, or we will have a command, we will use it, or see if I have a TPM. Okay, so let's go and see actually if here we can see that also it's saying to us that TPM is used to secure, as I said before, your environment, and it will be used with UEFI. I will talk later what is UEFI with secure boot. Anyway, we need to know if we have a TPM chip on my motherboard on my virtual machine. So we will go and open run, and then run tpm.msc and see if we have if you have this kind of chip on my motherboard. Okay, so we'll copy and then we will try and see if I have this. So I'll go and open the run, or right click and run, and then type this command. Okay, we'll type the command and then press OK. Here we can see that it will say to us that you don't have, okay, is not found on the computer. Verify that the computer has 1.2 or later. Okay, by the way, I think Microsoft Windows 11 was have an initial requirement or initial configuration requirement to have TPM module 2, okay, version 2 on the machines. So you're not able to install Windows 11 on a machine that doesn't have TPM version 2. Anyway, I think this was reduced and now you can install Windows 11 on machines without TPM. Anyway, so this is one of the things you need to take care when you are purchasing your hardware to be as a workstation. You need to make sure that it contains the TPM chip. Okay, so this is one of the things. And then we right click and manage. We can go to the device manager and see if we have a chip installed in the device manager. Also, this can be done by this command or by checking the device manager. Anyway, so this is description why we need the TPM. Anyway, one of the also the requirements is to have Frameware UEFI on your workstation. So when you purchase a hardware to be as a workstation in your domain, you need to make sure that this PC hardware contains a TPM chip and it contains a firmware which is called UEFI. Okay, this is a kind of firmware installed on the machine that will help you secure your operating system. So what is this firmware? When you have a PC or you purchase a PC and you don't have any system installed on it and you power it on for the first time, you will see a black screen and some lines begin to be displayed, and then you will see some data to be displayed. This is called the firmware. Okay, a firmware, it is a mini system installed on any PC that will help you install Windows 10 or any operating system. So it's a mini system that will help the computer to boot up and the hardware to be up and ready, so you can install an operating system on it. So it's a mini system used to load the necessary hardware that will help you install a complete operating system on it. So in the later days we have something called BIOS firmware. This was not secure, and now we have the UEFI system, which is firmware which is more secure. If you need to know more about this system, or what is the UEFI and what is the BIOS, I can recommend a PDF or recommend a video. Let me show you all a very good channel, okay, to do this or to describe this. What is the difference between UEFI and the BIOS? Let me show you all. It's a very good website, but let me have a look, or let me show you all here. So we'll open this. It's called Power Tech. Okay, let me show you all. This is a channel called Power Tech. So this Power Tech cert animated. So if you need to know more about what is the BIOS and what is the UEFI, so I urge you all to go and run. Let me show you all the video so we can go further. All of these are important things describing a lot of useful things in very simple terms. So this is the video that you need to run. What is the BIOS and what is the CMOS and what is the UEFI and what is the differences? Okay, so you can see here what is BIOS and UEFI and what. Anyway, so you need to make sure that your hardware for your workstation contains the UEFI firmware. So we have three things now. We need to have Windows 10 Enterprise 64-bit installed on our workstation. We need to have the TPM hardware chip on my motherboard for the workstation, and we need to have UEFI Frameware installed on my hardware for my workstation. So all of these are recommendations from the Defense Information Security Agency. Okay, so this is very, very important. The UEFI and the TPM will help you to secure your operating system and not to be tampered with. So this is something we need to know if I have UEFI Frameware on my workstation. So we will do, or we will type a certain command. Let me pass it real quickly actually. So no, not of this. So we will go and just a moment. So we will go and type a certain command. Just a moment, guys. So how we can know that you have UEFI frame on this virtual machine? We will type this command, okay, msinfo, and then we will check the system summary. Here we can see that first of all, if you go further down here, first of all, the BIOS mode is legacy. So BIOS mode is legacy. That means that it is not UEFI. If it's UEFI, it will type UEFI. Okay, so we don't have the UEFI Frameware on this virtual machine. And if you go and see, also another recommendation of this PDF is to have your secure boot enabled. So you need to make sure when you have a workstation that you have TPM module chip installed in it, and you have Frameware UEFI, and to enable secure boot on the UEFI. Okay, this is something. What is the secure boot option that we will enable on the UEFI Frameware of the machine? This is something to secure your operating system from a kind of malware that will tamper your operating system. What I mean by this, there is some malware that when it will infect your machine. When you boot your hardware or your workstation, it will not go to the Windows directly. It will go to another operating system or another display or another type of system that the hacker intended you to see it. So secure boot will help your workstation or your machine not to be tampered with the operating system. So if you don't have secure boot enabled in the UEFI Frameware, the hacker can hack your operating system and can make you not boot to the operating system completely, or boot to another kind of system that, for example, like a display warning, for example, or something telling you that you need to pay to get your hardware or to get your files unencrypted, something like this. Anyway, so here we can see that I don't have UEFI. If I have UEFI Frameware, it will appear from the BIOS mode. Okay, so now we will go. Secure boot is not supported and don't have UEFI. So if you go to the PDF, you need to have secure boot. So this is the fourth recommendation. Okay, and then the fifth recommendation is to have a kind of tool to scan your Windows 10 for security bugs. Okay, not only security bugs, but for security, not security bugs on the operating system, but ports, open ports that a hacker could use, open programs that are not fully encrypted, or something like this. Anyway, this is a tool that it will scan your complete network or scan all of the machines in your network and give you a report saying what are the security bugs or holes in this system. So this should be run every 30 days. So there is a lot of tools actually in the market that can make something like this. Something McAfee have some tools that it can scan your machine and gives you a report about the ports that should be closed. So let's continue, guys. So here you need to have an approved tool for continuous network scanning to scan your network for any security flaws without the use of automated mechanism to scan for security flaws on a periodic basis. So you need to scan your network in periodic basis or periodic times to check for security flaws. Okay, security flaws in the operating systems or system components. Okay, so you need to have such a tool. There is a lot of tools that you can use in the market. Okay, I think one of them is MVM or Microsoft Vulnerability Mechanism, or there is something called MVM. It is actually now discontinued, or it's not in production anymore, or it's not supported anymore. Something called MVM. This is the tool that will scan all of your devices, includes PCs, servers, printers, all of this, and gives you a complete report about the recommendations or the holes of security in these devices. Okay, also it can scan your switches and routers anyway, so it have a complete scan for any security flaws. So this should be also one of your concerns or one of your regular tasks to do. You can do it on a monthly basis or do it on an annual basis. So this is some of the tools, but it is used by the Department of Defense, so I think we will not be able to use such tools. It's something called HBSS. What's HBSS? Let me show you all what is HBSS. Okay, it's HBSS. So given to the United States Department State software application used within DoD to monitor, detect, and defend computer networks and systems. So it is a kind of vulnerability scan system used by the Department of Defense. Okay, so there is a lot of things. I think if I can show you MVM, what's MVM? Okay, MVM McAfee. So let me show you. Okay, so it's McAfee Vulnerability Manager. It was working for some time, but now it is end of life. It's not used anymore, but this is a kind of system used to check for vulnerability. So this is a kind, you need to have a kind of vulnerability manager system or vulnerability scan system on your network, and to run it on a regular basis and fix the bugs and holes in it. Okay, so this is one of the things. If you can go and continue. So we have talked about 5 or 6 recommendations. So you need to have a kind of this software installed in your environment to check for regular holes. Anyway, now you need to have BitLocker to encrypt all your disks to protect confidentiality and integrity. So you need to have all of your workstations in your domain to have their hard disks fully encrypted. Okay, so how we can do this? I have a lab. Let me show you all. So if you go to my IT Visualizer channel, you will see a full lab on how to implement the BitLocker system on all of your workstations in your domain, and how all of these encryption keys to be saved to the Active Directory, and a lot more. So let me show you all the name of the playlist, so you can all use it or see it and see how you can implement the BitLocker on a wide range in your domain. So we can go here and see. This is Mass Effect. Okay, this is the lab to implement something called BitLocker Administration and Monitoring Tool. This is a tool that will administer and implement encryption to all of your hard disks in all of your workstations in the domain. So this is the list, and you can see here how you can install MBAM. This is the Microsoft BitLocker Administration Monitor, how you can implement it and how you can use it on a wide range. So I urge you all to go and see this lab for more info. So we need to encrypt all of my hard disks on all of my machines in the domain. So this is one of the things also to take into consideration when working in an environment, and a highly secure environment. So you need to have all of your hard disks on all of your workstation to be encrypted. How we can know if we have BitLocker implemented on our machine? We can go simply to the control panel and see if the BitLocker is in effect or not. So you open the control panel, then BitLocker. Okay, then here we can see that it's turned off. So we have two C and D partitions. The two have BitLocker off on it. We will see how we can encrypt or use BitLocker on my two hard disks, and after encrypting the data on it, the encryption key will be saved to the TPM chip. Okay, so wait for a moment guys, sorry. So let's continue guys. Here, as you said before, here we will check if we have BitLocker enabled on our system, but it's not enabled. So I have a complete lab how we can enable BitLocker automatically on all of our machines, workstations in our domain that has Windows 10 installed, and this will be done automatically, and the encryption key will be saved to the TPM chip, and it will be also saved to the Active Directory computer object. Please refer to my lab, the Mass Effect lab, to know about the BitLocker encryption and automation. Okay, so now we have checked that we don't have BitLocker enabled on this machine, so this is one of the security points that will be taken into consideration. So you have an IT auditor that will have this PDF, and he will check one by one to see if you have all of these implemented in your domain or not. So we don't have BitLocker installed, so we can pass to the other point, and then we will have something called, we need to have also something called BitLocker PIN for pre-boot authentication. What do we mean by this? Okay, if you enable BitLocker encryption on the partition that has the operating system installed on it, you will do an additional step. What is this one? When the partition that has the operating system will be encrypted, to open the encryption on this partition, or to unencrypt the operating system partition so you can boot. So let's have this: if you encrypt the operating system partition, you will not be able to use it unless it is decrypted. Okay, so when you power off your machine and then try to boot and open the machine again, you need to provide the key that will unencrypt the operating system partition so you can have your operating system booted and you can work on it. So this is called PIN for pre-boot authentication. What we mean by this, that you will not be able to use your operating system or boot to your operating system unless you provide a key. So let's have a situation. Now you have your machine powered off. If you power it on, so the normal thing that when you power it on, it will load the Windows operating system and then gives you the login screen. But when you are using BitLocker, what will happen, that when you power on the machine, it will ask you to provide a key, okay, and type it. After you type it, the boot of the operating system will be completed normally. So you need to have something called BitLocker PIN, so you will not be able to boot to your operating system or work with your operating system unless you provide a key. So this is also one of the things. So the hacker, if he also stole your machine, he will not be able to boot to the operating system unless he provide a key. Okay, so an encryption key. So this is also done when you encrypt your or you use BitLocker in your domain or your environment. Now we need to know if we have pre-boot authentication BitLocker in effect or not. So we can check this from the registry key or from the registry of the Windows, or you can check if it is working or not on your network through the registry. So you need to go to the POW and check its registry to see if we have BitLocker pre-authentication boot key in effect or not. If it's not in effect, we can enable it by using a group policy. Okay, so let's first go and see how we can check our registry to see if we have the BitLocker pre-authentication key in effect or not. So we need to go to the registry hive HKey local machine, and then the registry path, this path software policies Microsoft. So let's go here. If we right click and tell him run, we go to the registry. Okay, reg edit. So let's pass this real quickly again. So we will go, and what we will do here, we will open local machine, and then we'll go to policies, software policies, then Microsoft. Okay, and then we'll go to VFE. here we need to see if we have a key called user advance key. If you have this key, use advanced startup, if you have this key in the registry, that means that we have BitLocker in effect, okay? But if you can see here, we don't have it, okay? So it's not in effect, okay? So now, and there is a couple of keys also. If you are using TPM or you have a chip TPM, you will see also two registry entries, okay? If you are using TPM, it will appear in the registry key in the same path, okay? So it's not there. So how we can enable it? We can go to the computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components, BitLocker encryption. So let's see how we can do this. So how to make this or enable this option on our machine. So if you go to computer configuration, so let's go there, computer configuration, and then we go to administrative templates, not policies, okay, policies, administrative templates, and then we'll go to the computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components. So let's pause this real quickly, and then we have the BitLocker. So just wait for a moment here. So we have Windows components, we'll go to the Windows components, then BitLocker encryption, okay, and then we have operating system drives, okay, and then we will tell him to allow enhanced PIN, or we will use something called require additional authentication at startup. This will enable us to provide a key so we can continue working with our operating system, or to boot to our operating system. So now we will open it, and then we will have a couple of configuration to be added. There is one for Windows Server and Vista, with 2008 and Vista, and the other for the Windows 10 or the normal or the other systems. So now we will tell him to allow TPM, and then we need to tell him to not to allow, to require. So here we'll tell him to configure TPM Startup to require startup PIN with TPM, okay? So we need to provide a PIN to continue booting to our operating system and to have a TPM. So here to require startup with TPM, okay? This is to require startup with TPM, okay? Not to allow. Allow means that you can ignore it, but to require it means that so you can configure it to startup with PIN or startup key and PIN with TPM, okay? So you have require startup with TPM or require startup key with or without, I think. Let's see here. So here you can require startup key and PIN with TPM, or require startup PIN with TPM. What is the difference? I don't know actually, but we will do this options. So by enabling these two options, we will have the pre-key authentication BitLocker, okay? You can see this in my lab in Mass Effect. I have this already implemented, so you see it in effect in a video, okay? We can see it anyway. So this is one also of the recommendations, so you can configure it, okay? We can pass this real quickly also. So we have done this actually. Now we can continue and see the other recommendations. Here, as I said before, you need, when you power off your machine, to continue booting to your operating system, you need to provide a key. This is after enabling the BitLocker on your partition that has the operating system installed on it. So this key has a minimum length of 6 digits, okay? So you need to also set a limit for your PIN that will be used to continue or to allow you to boot your operating system. So this could be six digits. So this is also one of the recommendations, to have a key of 6 digits. Okay, so now we can do this also from the BitLocker. So we can define a key or define our password for booting, okay, to be a minimum length of 6 or greater, okay? So this is it. We can go to configure minimum PIN length for startup. This will be 6, okay? So you can go here, configure minimum PIN length for startup. so you can give it 6 if you can add more. Okay, and then we will run the regedit. So here you can see from there also, if you have the minimum PIN key in this location, that means that you have already password length of 6 characters implemented. So you can apply it through a group policy and check if it is implemented using the registry. Now what we will do here, something called operating system deny and permit exception policy. So what we mean by this, when you install Windows 10 operating system on a machine, you will add additional software to this operating system. So you can install Windows 10, then you install Office, and then you install Windows 7 zip, for example, to decompress zipped files and a lot of programs. So we need to have a way to control what software should run on this operating system. So by having this mechanism, if I have a mechanism to control which software that will run on my operating system, I can guarantee, or I can help myself not to be hacked by malware. So if I, for example, have a whitelist or a list of the softwares that will run on my machine, a whitelist for the software that will run on my machine, and any other software is not authorized to run, this will be a good way to control or to help myself to not to be hacked or not to be infected by malware. So this will be done using something called app locker. This is a mechanism or a way in the Windows you can use to authorize only certain software to run on the machine. So this will have I will dedicate a complete video for using the app locker. So the app locker, it is a way to control what software to be to run on your machine. Okay, what software to run on your machine. Okay, this will be done through different ways, but I will dedicate a complete video for how to use the app locker. Okay, but there is also some recommendations if we go further. So if you can go there, there is a PDF exactly on how to, there is a PDF by NASA or NSA, National Security Agency. Okay, there is a PDF, okay, that will show you how you can application whitelisting using Microsoft App Locker. So we will have a list, we will list in it all the software that we authorize it to work on Windows 10 machines, and any other software will not be authorized to work. Okay, so this will, there is a PDF on how to do this. I will let you, I will show you how we can get this PDF. And if we need to know if we have App Locker already implemented on our machine, we can run a certain PowerShell script or PowerShell command to know if we are using the App Locker policy or not. So we need to know if we have this already implemented or not on our Power machine. We will run this PowerShell, and if the resulted file contains any data, that means that we have our App Locker policy applied. So the App Locker, it is a way that we will use on our Windows 10 machines to control what software to be run on these machines. Okay, so let's see first the guide. Okay, we will go and get the WA guide. So I can pass this real quickly here. So here we will take this whole key, or not whole key, this is whole command, and then we will run it on our PAL machine, and we will see if it will get any results. So we will go now and run this. We will go and close the registry, and then we will right click on the PowerShell, and then to run it as an administrator. So we will need to see if we have App Locker working or App Locker implemented in our domain. So right click PowerShell and then run as administrator. Okay, and then we will right click and then press enter. But before this, we need to create a folder called temp, because this script will have a file that will be exported to this folder, which is called temp. This file will contain, or will tell us if we have the App Locker implemented or not. So we need to create a folder called temp. Okay, now we will do this. So we'll have a folder and we'll name it temp. Okay, we name a folder and name it temp. Okay, and then we will run the command and we will see. So we'll delete this folder because actually I don't need many folders. Now we will run the command and we will see the result. So if we press enter, now we will have a file called file.xml. This file will tell us if we have app locker policy working on our domain or not, or working on this machine or not. If you right click and try to open it and see it, open with Internet Explorer, so we can open XML files using Internet Explorer. Here we can see, if we wait for a couple of seconds, here we can see that it is blank, so we don't have any app locker policy applied. Okay, so any software can run on this machine. Okay, there is no policy to control what software should run on this machine. Okay, so this means it's open for malware, or it can be infected by viruses and malware software. Okay, so there is a PDF. This is the link that you can use it as a guide to implement your app local policy. So I said before, I will dedicate a whole video on how to implement an app locker policy in your domain. So this is the PDF. We will copy it and then we download this PDF. Okay, so right click and paste. Okay, this is provided by, let me show you all what this PDF is provided with. Actually, you can continue, you can ignore this warning, tell him to continue. So this PDF, it is provided by NASA, National Security Agency. Okay, so it's National Security Agency, so you can get the file. This is an app locker, this is a guide. Okay, describes app locker setting recommended by NASA information as for deploying location-based application whitelisting. Okay, so this is a recommendation how you can control what software to run on your own machine by making a whitelist. So you will have a whitelist that will contain all of the approved and authorized software to run on all of the machines in our domain, and then it will be applied to all of the machines. Okay, so I will show you all how we can do this. So we need to download the PDF. It's 51. Actually, I said before I will have a video dedicated for this, for implementing this PDF. Okay, if we open it, we will see that there is a lot of things. Actually, after finishing it or finish download, if you open it, we will see a lot of things. Actually, it needs actually a whole video to work with it, or to describe it, or to explain it. Okay, if we open it, let me show you also. Here we will open it and we will see how it will work. Okay, so here we can go, this is the PDF. Okay, if we go further, just wait for a moment. See, this is NASA, National Security Agency. Okay, whitelist or application whitelist using app locker. What is the advantages and the disadvantages of using such policy? And it is about 51 page. I will discuss it later, but not now. So a lot of things and a lot of recommendations how to control what software to run on your machines. So by providing such a mechanism, we will control what software to run on my machines. So this will not allow any external software or any malware or any unauthorized software to run on my machine. So this is one of the things, of the good things for working with an app locker policy. Okay, but this need to be tested thoroughly, because it will control what software to run on your machine. So you need to be very careful when you're applying this kind of policy. How it will be applied to our domain, we will apply it using a group policy. Okay, so we'll have a group policy to apply app locker to our workstations. So we can do this from Windows setting. Can go further here, Windows setting, and then here go to software restriction policy app locker. Okay, this is here, we can get it from here. Sorry, or application, let's show you here. No, not from app, sorry, app control policies. just wait for it, and then Applocker. This here we will apply Applocker from here. Okay, so this is it. This is one also of the recommendations. I will talk it later. And then here we see that he is telling us you need to have maintained a supported servicing level. What we mean by this? We mean that you need to have your operating system on your workstations to be supported by Microsoft. What we mean by supported? Some systems are no longer supported by Microsoft and it is depreciated, something like Windows XP and Windows 7. So you don't need to have any kind of these systems to be deployed in your environment. You need to have a valid operating system, an operating system that is still supported by Microsoft and its life cycle is still working. By the way, there is some Windows 10 operating systems that are not supported by Microsoft anymore. We know all that Windows 10 have different versions. The first version that was introduced, it was Windows 10 version 15.04, and then we have now Windows 10 version 21H1. Okay, we have a couple of systems now still supported by Microsoft Windows 10 systems. I will show you all the numbers or what is still supported. If you go there, just a moment. So first of all, we need to know our Windows version. First of all, I will show you all what are the Windows 10 versions that are still supported. But to know your Windows 10 version, you will right click or have run and type this command to get the version of this system. Okay, first of all we will go and run it, or close this one and right click, and I will show you all. I have made a video for this kind of topic, but first of all we tell him run and then WinVer. Here you all, this is the version, it's 18.09. We need to make sure that this version of Windows is still supported by Microsoft. So how we can do this, I will show you all something very simple. I will go to Google and search if the Windows 10 LTSC version 18.09 is still supported by Microsoft or its life cycle is still valid. So we will go now and see. Let me show you all first how we can get the version of the Windows. Now we need to see first of all that this version is still supported or not. This is Windows 10 LTSC 2019. Let's see if this version is still supported or not. So we tell him service level, or we can tell him life cycle. Here we can see that it is supported until January 8, 2024, and it could be extended to January 9, 2029. So it's still valid. So I can still work with it. Microsoft still supports it, and what I mean by support, it means that it will issue security updates to fix security bugs in this system. Okay, Windows XP and Windows 7 are not supported, and Microsoft will not issue any security updates for them, so they are open for vulnerabilities and hacking. Okay, so this is how we can know the version, and I will show you all something also more. Here this PDF says that what's still supported until now by Microsoft, it's version 19.09. it will end at May 2022. So Windows 10 version 19.09, its support will end 10 May 2022, and version 2004 it will end 14 of December 2021. So we have about 1 month until this version ends, and then we have 20H2, it's still valid until 9th of May 2023. Okay, as for the LTSC, here we can see that the version that I use currently, LTSC 18.09, it is still valid until 2024. So you need to make sure that your Windows 10 is still supported, not on the current time but in the future. So for example, if you need to install Windows 10 2004, now it is valid because we are in or it's still supported because we are in November, but after 1 month it will expire. So you need to take care of this kind of versions and when they will end. I have a I have a video. Let me show you all something here. If you go to the YouTube channel, my channel IT Visualizer, I will show you all a video that I am talking about Windows minimal hardware and optimal hardware and its life cycle. So let's go to my channel and I'll show you all the video talking about this. So we'll go to the playlist, okay, and then we'll go to the COVID-19 lab. This is the one. Let me have a look. Okay, COVID-19 and the English one. Okay, and then let's press here, and then if you go to the list, I have something called, just wait for a moment, Windows minimal and optimal hardware requirement. This is the one. Here I am talking about okay, and life cycle. So this will talk about Windows 10 minimal hardware and optimal hardware requirements, its life cycle, and Windows 10 LTSC 2019. I am talking about all of this in this video, so please refer to it for more info. So here we need to make sure that our system is still valid and is still working and supported by Microsoft. And as you see here, my Windows 10 LTSC is still supported. Okay, so now this is also one of the recommendations to plan for your Windows 10 life cycle. So you need to have a plan when to upgrade and when to upgrade and when to replace your Windows 10. So some Windows 10 versions will expire and some Windows 10 are still supported, so you need to have a plan for this. Okay, now we also, one of the recommendations to have an antivirus installed. Here is recommended at least to have Windows Defender. This is already installed by default with Windows 10, but is not recommended as a reliable antivirus. You can install any other software, but at least you should have Windows Defender. And there is a PowerShell command. Through it you can know if the Windows 10 has antivirus program installed on it. So you will run this command, and then here you will put the name of the antivirus. If there is result return it back, then that means that this software is installed. So for example, I can remove Defender and put McAfee. If I have anything returned from this command, then that means I have McAfee installed. If I have Defender and there is results from this command, then that means that I have Windows Defender installed. Let's see this command in action. So we will go and see if we have this installed. So we can go there. Okay, so I will get this command and then I will put it here. What I have done here, I opened the PowerShell command and then type the command, and then he returned something running Windows Defender. So I have Windows Defender firewall, stopped Windows Defender antivirus, so I have the antivirus stopped, antivirus network inspection stopped, Windows Defender antivirus running, so I have here Windows Defender. Here I can choose to remove Windows Defender and put McAfee. Just wait for a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we know that we have Windows Defender installed through this command. You can change Defender and put McAfee, and if there is anything returned back, then that means that McAfee is installed, and you can put Kaspersky whatsoever. So this is a way to know if you have antivirus installed or not. Okay, if no antivirus news, install Windows Defender or third party. Anyway, Windows Defender is installed by default, but it's not a recommended antivirus. Anyway, another recommendation is to have your hard disks for all of your workstations that have Windows 10 installed on them, to have them formatted as NTFS. Why NTFS system? So you can put more permissions on it. Okay, because when you format your partition as NTFS, you will be able to put permissions on the partition. So for example, you can put a permission for users to read some files, to full control some files. So the NTFS system will help you to put permissions on your folders and your hard disks on your machine. So you need to have all of your partitions on your Windows 10 to be formatted as NTFS. How we can know this? We will know it from disk management, and we will see how this will be done. So we can go and see. Okay, if we go to right click and then manage, okay, we will see that in the disk management you will see that I have two partitions. They are formatted or file system as NTFS. Okay, why is this system? So we have more proper, or to have more permissions on it. Alternative operating system must not be permitted on the same system. What we mean by this? So you cannot have two systems installed on the same machine. So some of us, for example, can have a machine that has Windows 10 operating system installed on it and Linux, for example, or Windows 10 and Macintosh or whatsoever. So you cannot, it's not permitted, or it's the best practice not to have two systems installed on the same machine. How we can know this? We will go to the advanced setting, advanced tab, and then we will see the setting and then startup and recovery. I will show you all how we can do this. So we can go and tell him properties from here, and then we will go and tell him advanced setting. Okay, and then we will go to startup and recovery. Just a moment. So we'll go to startup again just a moment, guys. Startup and recovery. Okay, and here we can see that we have only Windows 10. If there is any alternative system or there is another system, we will see Windows 10 and another one. Okay, so this means that I don't have multiple operating systems. Okay, so we can work with it, or we can continue. Now the next thing is to non-system created file shares on a system must be limited to certain groups. Okay, so if you have a workstation, okay, have Windows 10 installed on it, do not share any folders on it. Shared folders are only permitted on the file server. So you have a file server dedicated for sharing files and folders to all of your workstations in your domain. Do not share any folder on a single or on a separate workstation. Okay, so this is not permitted. Only system shared files are permitted on a system. So for example, if you have Windows 10 installed on a machine, by default its partitions are shared, but access to this share is only permitted to the administrator. So for example, if I have Windows 10 installed on a machine that joined the domain, I can access the partition C and D to this machine by a certain way, and it is only available for the administrator or local administrator or the domain admin. Okay, so this is permitted, but I am not, or it's not best practice to share any folder on any single workstation. Shared folders and sharing folders are only permitted on a file server. Okay, so how we can know if there is a machine that contains, or Windows 10 machine that have folders shared on it? I will show you all how we can know this. So if you can wait for a moment, if you can go there, let me show you all here something. So if you go to computer management, system tools, shared folders, okay, shares, he says here if you have only admin SC or IPSC, that all of these shared folders, this is not a finding, it's normal thing. Okay, so if there is any folders except these, then this is a finding. Okay, so let me see, or let me show you all how we can know that there is any folders shared on a machine. So as you see, non-system shares are not typically exist on a workstation. So now we can go and check and see if I have on my POW any shared folders. We need to go and see this. So we will go to the workstation again, and then we will right click and then manage, and then we will open shared folders and shares. Here we can see that there is admin, C and D, and IPC. So these are all normal things. We can see that the partition C is shared and the partition D is shared. This is normal, and the $sign here means that these shares are hidden. And how I can access a hidden folder or a hidden shared folder or a hidden partition? Only the local administrator or the domain admin can access these. And how I can access it? By simply right click and then run, and then type the name of the machine slash the partition, then accounted or accompanied with the $sign. I have done this before, but this is the way that you can access the partition, and it will be only available for the local administrator and the domain admin. So let's continue. Okay, and then unused accounts must be disabled or removed after 35 days of inactivity. So for example, if you have a user in your domain that had left the company, for example, or he was working and then he have resigned, so you need to, after his resignation, you need to delete all of his accounts from the Active Directory immediately, or at least not to, first of all, this is one thing. And if there is a user, for example, that has taken a vacation, a long vacation, that is more than 35 days, you should disable the account. So you have two things. If a user left the property, you need to remove his account. If a user have a long vacation more than 35 days, so you need to disable his account. How we can know if there is users on the machine that this is the local users on the machine, so you need to take care that if there is a local user on the machine that is inactive for 35 days, you need to disable it or remove it. Okay, this is it. And as for the network or the domain, this is also applies. Okay, so it applies to local users on the machine and network users on the domain. Okay, so we can know this by issuing a command. So we can issue this command locally on the machine, or issue this command or the domain controllers to get all of the users that are inactive for some time. So let's see how we can do this command. Let's type it, or we can pass this real quickly. So we will take the whole command, just a moment. And here, by the way, he gives you some if some accounts are returned, so built-in administrators. So for example, here you need to exclude, for example, if the local administrator on the machine is not working for or inactive for 35 days, this is normal, you need to leave it. And the guest account also, this should be disabled, okay, and not accessed at all. Okay, so there is a couple of things. I need first to pass this, or need me show you all what it's saying here. First we will run this command and let's see what is the result. So if we go further here, I will type the command. So I have typed the command, and let's see what is the result of this command. Okay, so this is for the users local on the machine. If we need to do this for the domain, we will run it from the domain controller. Okay, so let's see. So we can pass this reel and then press enter. Let's see what is the result that will be returned. Okay, so let's go there and continue. Here we go, then and press enter. So what we can see here we have 1 2 3 4 5. There is 5 accounts locally on this machine. The first is called default account. Don't touch this account, this is for the system. Guest, this is by default and it is disabled. And never, so it's not used at all, and it's disabled, so you don't need to worry about it. So you need to exclude these two. Then we have 2 accounts. The local administrator account, you can also exclude this from the recommendation. Then we have Kera of 1. This is the second local administrator. Okay, so also you can exclude this one actually, because these are 2 local administrators. Okay, so you need to leave them even they are not if they are inactive for a long time. These are 2 local administrators. This is the guest account, this is the default account, and this is WDA utility account. So all of these are not findings. Okay, if you find any other accounts, for example, except local administrators, this is a finding. You need to disable or remove. Okay, so this is one of the things you need to take care. This will be done locally on the machine and on a network, on a domain level. Okay, so we'll do this, and let me show you all something here. It's telling you to exclude built-in administrators, built-in guest, default account, local administrator account. So this is need to be excluded from this recommendation. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. So if any user except these users didn't log or is inactive for 35 days, you need to remove it or disable it. Okay, So this is one of the recommendations. Let's continue also working and continue seeing the other PDF, or let's continue our recommendations. So here, regular review of local accounts is necessary. So you need to check the accounts locally on your machines in the domain and see which are active or inactive. Okay, and actually will not allow any local users to be created on the machines. Okay, so this is also one of the things, not to create any local user on the machine. Here he's saying that only accounts responsible for administration of a system must have administrator rights on the machine or on the system. Here we have, as I said before, separation of accounts. So the domain admin account should not log in on a workstation and manage it. Okay, the domain account is used only to manage the Active Directory. If you need to manage a Windows 10 workstation, you need to have a separate account. So you have two accounts, one to manage the Active Directory and one to manage the workstations as a local administrator. And this we have done already. Remember that we have, every IT have two accounts. Okay, one to manage the Active Directory and you have all the rights to do this, and another account to manage the workstations locally. So this is one of the things, we have done this already. And standard users must not be members of local administrators group. So you do not, it's not recommended to create a user and put it in the local administrators group on the machine. This is one of the things. So I think we have done this already. So here, remember, for example, this is something called Ally Workstation Administrators. This is group that members of it can manage or to be local administrators on the Ally branch workstations or computers. We have done this before many times, or we have done it in the beginning of the lab. Okay, only accounts responsible for backup operators must be members of the backup operators. So if you have users that will back up some data on your workstations, they should be put in a group called backup operators. Okay, so only accounts that will do backup operations must be members of the backup operators group. So you do not need to put them in the administrators group, for example. Okay, so if you have a user and this user, you need to give him some backup operations on a machine locally on a machine locally on a Windows 10 machine locally, you need to put him in the backup operators group. Okay, so we can check the computer management and see the groups and see if there is anyone in this group. So if we go to computer management and then we go to groups and backup operators, here if you need a user to backup, if for example on my PAL I need a user to backup data on my PAL machine, I need to put him as a member of the backup operators group. Okay, so actually I don't have any member on this. So this is one of the also recommendations. And then the only authorized accounts must be allowed to create or run virtual machines. This is also one thing. If you need on my PAL machine, for example, if I need a certain user to create and run a virtual machine, he should be a member of the hypervisor administrators. Okay, we can see this also from just a moment, you can see it from the, we will right click and then tell him manage. Okay, just wait for a moment. So if I need, for example, a user to run a virtual machine on my PAL workstation, he need to be a member of the hypervisor. Go to the local users and groups, and then you need to be a hypervisor or to be in this group, hypervisor V administrators. Okay, so this is it. I don't have anyone on it, so let's continue. And here we can see, just one moment, I need to go something here, just wait for a moment. So this is the hypervisor. Okay, and then standard local user accounts does not exist on a system in a domain. So for example, if you have a laptop and this laptop have joined the domain, okay, and then the user working on this machine told you that I need to work from home and I need to have a user to be administrator on the machine, do not do this. This is not recommended. Do not make local user accounts, okay, and give them administrative rights on the machine. Okay, so only account that will be able to administer the machine is the local administrator. Do not create any local user accounts on a system not existing in the domain. Okay. Okay, so we will do this. Also, we will check for, if we go to users, here we can see that we have two accounts. These are administrators. Okay, do not create any account either than these, even if it is not an administrator. So for example, if you create a local user or a normal or a limited user account, do not create it on a machine. Okay, so you are permitted to create local administrators. This is it, this is fine, and you are not permitted to create standard users on the machine. So this is one of the things also to put in mind. So let's continue. Okay, now I think we can stop at this part. Just a moment. So we will stop at this point. Actually, accounts must be configured to require password expiration. So every accounts or local accounts on your machine should have an expiration password or expiration time. So this is the point, or we are in the minute number 42. Hope this video informative to you all. I will complete or continue working with this video in the second part. Hope this video is informative to you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much. It's 42:15. Thank you.